Hey everyone, welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. Today is open lines where I basically just hang out with you online in the hopes that some of you might have the courage to call in and share some of your craziest UFO, ET, metaphysical, or whatever other stories you might have. So, for some of you who've been watching for quite a while, know that we're not limited. There's no really I haven't had a subject yet where I would be asking a person to please not talk about it, but I don't know what it would be, but generally, yeah, I try not to censor myself on here either, as much as YouTube always sends these reminders and always sends out to let all the creators know of how what how perfect you have to be in order to, I guess, be more advertiser friendly. And I'm like, well, you guys haven't been really giving me much money over the close to a decade now. It's like, I don't know what I'm really working for here. But anyway, so for those of you who would like to share some stories today, and I included your stories. Now I can't see, ET contact and earth changes as well. So whatever topics might come up, or you're open to talk about it. Right now I have the stream or the voice chat going on in Telegram. So in the description below the video, whether you're on YouTube, it should be below the video, Facebook above it, and Twitch, I don't know. I don't think they have descriptions yet, only after, I guess, the stream is done and over with. But anyway, there's a link to go to the UFO Hub Telegram page. Unfortunately, you have to download Telegram either on your phone or on the computer, and you basically join the voice chat, and you can use it to just simply listen to what we're discussing today. And if you would like to talk, there's a little fella underneath. There's a button with like a little raised hand. You can just click on that, and it'll tell me that you would like to talk to me. And yeah, usually I just go into sometimes questions that somebody might have, and then we'll discuss it. If somebody basically feels more inclined to have more information, I guess, regarding a question that maybe somebody in chat asked, they joined. But anyway, the bottom line is it's really not structured. The regular structured interviews are happening on Fridays at 7 p.m. I haven't determined yet who the guest is going to be, but this is just basically us online hanging out, and instead of having a in-person meeting somewhere behind closed doors, actually showing the rest of the world what is basically discussed at these different meetings. And the best part about that is that they can just sit at home and kind of in a, I guess, guilty way fulfill their curiosity without being labeled or being seen to be going to a UFO meeting or such places. So anyway, yeah, there's so few times that we had these shows, people have brought up Anjali, and so I've reached out to ask if she would come on to do an interview, and so I have not heard anything yet. It's been several days, so I'm just going to keep it at that. If some of you have better connections, or sometimes I'm not sure if she's seen the message or what's going on, you can always email her separately for some encouragement or something if you really would like her to come on to hear her talk more. But yeah, and usually what I do, because I try not to overdo it, I send maybe 3 or 4 different invitations, or sometimes answer to people that have sent invitations to me, answer them back when I have the time. And so to tell them, okay, sorry, it's been kind of late that I'm getting back to you, but this Friday there's an open, and I can have you on that show, or we'll work out for some other times. But yeah, if you guys specifically have somebody that you really would like to hear more from, you can definitely help me out if you reach out to them and just have them basically go to ufohub.net, or through Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, obviously Telegram, that simply can reach me and basically make their case. Because I'm still, I shouldn't say, like, I kind of look at to see what kind of subject matter it is, and make sure that sometimes it's not a joke. whenever some people send to me, and to make sure it's an actual person that maybe at least has spoken before. It just helps me out, but it's not a requirement, because I don't always just want to talk to somebody with a book. People that have life experiences and crazy things to share don't always want to write about it. The only reason why, as I've always said, the only reason why I talk to somebody that has a book is because they've spent the time to gather their thoughts, put them down on paper to convey to you in the most I guess concise, precise way of what had occurred to them. And so it's basically just more organized, and it's a lot easier to do an interview. But obviously that is not always the case. The few that I did have on, especially last week, just over open lines. Oh shoot! Don't tell him I forgot his name. I've had to speak to so many people, it just escapes my mind. But anyway, he doesn't have a book, but basically has a cool story to tell, and it's very interesting. And we talked for quite a bit, and most of you engaged in that as well. So anyway, it's not a requirement, just for the sake of a structure and interview. If somebody already has their thoughts well put together and can easily convey them to people, it's a plus. So let's see here. Who do we have? Hazel. Hazel, awesome. You made it. She always tells me that she keeps not getting the notifications, or missing it, or coming in halfway through, when, as we already discovered last week, 2 hours into it, when my butt gets numb. Bradley, welcome as well. Sheldon, welcome. Fab22, Mr. Love, Crypto. Oh, and Crypto, I didn't get to talk to you earlier. Sometimes I open the chat, or the voice chat up in Telegram a half hour early, and we just chit chat about everything, anything, family things, current events, just just to kind of get things rolling before it officially goes live at 7. So anyway, I didn't get to talk to you then, but you've been asking about the blue logo circle to be available. So if you go to the merch website right now, and should be also under the videos on YouTube, I finally was able to put together the logo, and it's not looking too bad. I had some issues converting that blue glow, but it's anyway, basically I made it. It's out there and available, and I know you've been asking for it, so I'm just letting you know. And again, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. So Mr. Love, welcome. JB Jordan, Nick, welcome as well. Lottie Baker, Lottie's asking, when talking about manifestation, creating our own reality, and the shift, when can we transcend the current oppression of closed-minded controlling governments? That's a good question. I mean, we could get into that. It's a pretty good, heavy subject to get into straight away. Okay, Crypto says, I saw that, I'm on it. I can't wait for it. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Hazel is asking, Ednan, do you believe in asking the cosmos for help, or in general with an idea? Well, it's, what's really interesting is, of course, if it helps to get you motivated, it doesn't hurt to have that kind of approach. But just from my personal experience, you're basically, because everything is a reflection back to you, and I often do that too when I have frustrations, for example, and I stop and I think for a second. I was like, hold on a minute, this is a scenario that I know now, after all these years and all these experiences I've had, that it was created by me. And so I have to then sit back and more wonder about like why, and then take a different approach, instead of, being like, oh my God, everything is not going the way I needed. Why is it not going the way I needed? Just simply stop, take a break, understand I chose to have this experience. Okay, I'm angry. Why? Frustrated. Why? And so when it comes to, basically asking, it's asking for help. It's basically you not surrendering in the sense of you giving up, but you basically, it's important to just, when you have an excitement or to follow up on an idea, you just have to let it be and not be so controlling to see how it's going to happen. So for example, I was talking to Paulie earlier today on Telegram a little bit, and just the very studio I'm sitting in now. For the longest time, I wanted to start a UFO Hub lecture series so that I could have more people brought in and basically talk at the lectures while streaming online, and I could that way assure myself constantly having guests coming in, doing interviews and putting them out for UFO Hub. Well, I did everything humanly possible. I did as much work as I could on my own. I don't know. I believe I have a video out there where I built the equipment needed for it. Thanks to a lot of you out there that have donated, and especially I got a fairly large Bitcoin donation, about 10 grand. I needed about 35 at that time, but basically through that donation, I've basically managed to cut down a third of what I usually would have put up. Because what I did more like did more editing on the side, which then whatever I was bringing in through that while also working, we would just save and save and save, and we had all that full amount. I basically got all the equipment needed. Give me one quick second. I want to see. Today, I mentioned earlier, for some reason, I keep drawing blanks on people's names. Eric von Velzen. I know he's probably going to watch this, and I talk to him often too, but sometimes I can't even remember my own mother's name. When something happens, like I keep getting these blocks, and I just have the most difficult times recalling things and facts. But anyway, it was through Eric von Velzen that basically gave that large donation. I was very grateful for it, and we still talk to this day. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that I worked towards it. I was not lazy about it. I've recorded videos of it, building this table. It took me 3 months, setting up and talking to vendors and trying to get people. And every step of the way, things were just not happening, And so finally, I just kind of just put that idea on hold, and it was the idea of having a separate building to where it can be more quiet and the kids are not going to distract or anything like that. And basically just through when I just put my mind to it, and my wife and I talked about it, and we're like, okay, let's do it. It's going to benefit the family in so many ways. Everything came together. Help, money, people, whatever I needed, the knowledge. A lot of it I knew how to do myself, but when it actually came to the construction, I didn't. So I asked my father-in-law, Kelly Vernon, and I asked him, I said, for help, and he graciously helped, and you see him in that video as well, and I'm very grateful, for him being available and doing that for me. And, Nancy Vernon as well, for all the help that I could get. But the point was, it was simply just being open to allow to whatever could happen. Here I was forcing one idea with all my energy, all my know-how, and it just would not go. But then, only to realize that there was a more urgent need for what I was going to do, which ended up being this. So anyway, you might have heard this version I'm telling you, might have heard this, in the New Age circles, or talked about this in these very airy-fairy ways, but there's a very practical steps you can take that then lead you to the next thing. You don't always have to know 100% what it is that you need. Sometimes it's better than what you were asking for. But the point is, take the first action, like I did. I didn't have everything. I didn't work out all the things, but I just started digging around, which was digging the holes for the foundation. The next thing I know, I was setting up the reinforcement for it, and the next thing, and at the end of the day, here I have an entire studio that's benefited me and obviously all of you in a very big way. And I wouldn't have never really guessed that. I would have, if I was stubborn about it, I would have still tried in the hardest, most difficult way to push the conference. And at the time, this was really unbeknownst to me. These things, they were not working out, obviously for a reason, because then COVID and the restrictions and the lockdowns happened. Well, not so much where I'm at, but there were restrictions, so that some more, I guess I should say, liberal areas were following, and so Eureka Springs, they were putting all the restrictions. So it wouldn't have been possible for me to do the conference, because that was the place where I was thinking about having it. And so not knowing that, and already acting on my ass excitement months, even half a year before that, basically helped me divert a huge dilemma, because then I would have spent all my time trying to stick to figuring out how the conference or the lecture series was going to happen, and it not happening, and me sitting there wondering, like, why in the world is this not working out, or just putting it on hold, for a little bit. I still have all the equipment here, nothing is lost, and just kind of slightly shifting over my direction. So anyway, Hazel, I hope that kind of answers your question. All right, let's see. What was it again? Lottie, I promise we'll get back to your question. Let me just get to Phoenix. Phoenix is on Telegram. And so Phoenix, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours, so you should be able to talk to me.
Hi, how are you? Sorry.
That's all right. How are you? Thanks for being on.
I'm great. I just want to say thank you so much for this platform. There's not a lot of really decent people out there, a lot of shysters, so it's really important that I think people that have had otherworldly experiences have a place to come where we feel we're not going to be completely judged for the things that we know to be real. So I appreciate it. And I listened to Penny today, to your interview with her, and wow, she's such an amazing woman. And I have to tell you, I resonated with her on such a deep level, because I myself really want to become a doctor of naturopathic medicine. And I think that's the way we're going. And a lot of the things, that she said occurred to her many, many years ago in the 80s when she had her Kundalini awakening. I have been allowed and honored to have experienced myself just recently. I had blocked my abilities my whole life. I was always very intuitive, always very in tune with other things that most people didn't see. And at a young age, I was put on antidepressants, told that I was crazy, when all along, I really think that it was a symptom of what, a lot of people don't consider as like being on the realm of autism. But as a young girl, I was vaccinated as a baby and I had all these vaccines, but I had a lot of problems with attention deficit. And in girls, it shows up in teenage years as depression and bipolar, I believe, in other girls. But for me, it was depression. I was put on antidepressants and it blocked me in a lot of ways. And then through various life circumstances, I started drinking, and it was really bad. But I got sober a couple of years ago now. And ever since then, I mean, before that occurred, before I got sober, I started to have flashbacks of my experiences.
Phoenix Abbey, before you continue, I'm sorry to interrupt, just real quick. Is there any way you can are you outdoors right now?
I am outdoors. Yep.
Okay. The only reason why I'm asking, the chirping of the crickets coming through strong, and it deflects a little bit from hearing you well.
Is it really? Okay. Well, I might actually lose you if I go back inside. Is it you know what if I take you off of my Bluetooth? I don't know. Hang on. Well, anyway, all right.
Yeah, no, but other than that, please continue. I do want you to tell us whatever is on your mind.
I might lose you because the reception indoors, that's why I came out, is because the reception inside.
Okay, then we'll
really
make it work. We'll make it work then.
Okay. Anyway, long story short, I started having flashbacks of my experiences as an abductee as a child, and I thought about writing a book, like you had mentioned earlier. And I started to, and then I'm like, I see all these other people coming out with books, and it's just, it. I didn't want to jump on that train, right away. I really felt like I needed to explore my spirituality a little more and do a lot more digging into why I had these experiences. So I've been taking time doing a lot of research. But, you know, one real experience that I can say um, is it all right that I discuss this at this
Yes,
time?
please. Yeah,
Or,
we're.
okay,
This is it. This is the reason why I'm on today. So anyone that would like to speak to me, and you came on first, just talk away.
sure, okay. Well, I mean, it started to happen when I was a young child. I recalled, I always had a problem sleeping. But they would come to me in the moments of I was like partially awake and partially asleep, and I recall seeing cartoon figures in my room. There was always three of them, and they never like they would always scare me at first, but they would just inject you with this feeling of, this is okay. We've done this before, and you're okay. And I would not remember anything. I was a child, and I really didn't. I thought it was a dream. You think they're dreams, and but something occurred in public. Actually, it was strange. It occurred in 1985. I don't know if anybody was up in New England at that time, but well, I know a lot of people were, but I happened to live in Connecticut. And Hurricane Gloria came through in that year. It was like later. I can't recall the exact dates, but it was September 1985, and I was just 6 years old. I remember it was close to sunset. I was down the street playing at a little friend's house in Norwalk, Connecticut, and we were. All I remember is really looking up at the sky, and there was just this brightness that I recall having to cover my eyes, and when I could actually make out what it looked like, it was just three bright lights in the shape of a triangle. And what I realized, I didn't, you don't really make sense of it. You think, is this military? You think it's a helicopter? All these thoughts are going through your head. And then the thing split, like so it was a triangle, but all three lights kind of split off into their own light. So it was like, so I kind of knew it wasn't military because it went from being one craft to three separate crafts. And then all I recall is just this feeling of paralysis. And I remember feeling the wind on my face and the tears in my eyes as I was being pulled up. And I recall them touching my skin and the feel of their skin on my skin, and that same feeling that they inject you with, like, the emotion, like you're home. It is almost this strange sensation that you've been here before, and these people are your family. These beings are your family. At least to me, that's how they felt. Like I've heard a lot of other abductees talk about their experiences being really negative, and perhaps I need to do a little bit more hypnosis, like regression therapy, to go into a little bit more detail about it, because I really kind of haven't. But um, I lost time that night, and all I recall after being pulled in was waking up down the street several hours later at my grandparents' house, and I was literally like plopped in front of this huge television that they had. You remember those big TVs they had that were like wood grain and they'd sit on the ground? And or
Which,
they were sitting on the floor. Back
yeah,
in the 80s, they were just
80s,
old
yes.
school.
Well, at least from what
And
was early 80s, I was in Bosnia. Late 80s, I was in Germany, but I always watch American TV, so I know from the TVs what you're talking about.
well, yeah, I mean, it was just this big old thing, and I just had been put right in front of it. And it was strange because at first it was off, and then it flicked on, and it was just fuzz, like it was just static. And I'm like, what is going on? And I looked outside, and it was pitch dark outside, which is how I knew I had lost time, because when I the last thing I had recalled was that it was still sunny. It was just setting. The sun was just setting, and it was pitch dark outside. And then the screen flipped on to the news, and the news came on, and I saw my friend, the one whose house I was at, and he was talking to a reporter and showing her a picture that he had drawn of what we saw. And there were other people in the neighborhood that had witnessed this and had reported this to the news reporter. And I remember thinking to myself, being 6 years old, you think very much about yourself. And I actually was angry. I was like, what the hell? I was there too. Why aren't they talking to me? And I remember I turned around to look at my grandmother, and my grandma was sitting in the back of the room, and she looked all weird, like dazed and confused. And I said, Grandma, why aren't they talking to me? And she got up and she's like, I don't know, like totally out of it, and walked out of the room. And I honestly, I never really, I don't know why, but I never really spoke about it with anybody else. I think the next day I may have mentioned it in passing to my mom, like, hey, Ma, you'll never guess what we saw. And my mom was like, uh-huh. And I forgot about it for a really long time. And it wasn't until I had a very violent car crash in 2009. Was it 9? I'm sorry, no, it was 2011. And I had a near-death experience. And I actually died. I had lost so much blood. And it was after that I started to have these flashbacks. But it wasn't until, I got sober and started having these Kundalini spiritual awakenings in my mind that it really started to kind of, it really dawned on me that I really did have this experience. And what does that exactly mean? What does that exactly mean? And, it's hard to find other people that have had similar experiences. And it's, now that I'm connecting with beings on another dimensional level, I think that because I've awakened my Kundalini, that I am experiencing things. Like, I don't know if anyone else is experiencing this right now, but a symptom that I'm having is that I'm being touched by interdimensionals. And I put spiritual boundaries around me all the time. I'm big into crystals and positive energy. I do tarot card readings. I'm highly connected, and I consider myself to be clair everything, but I'm experiencing them touching me, like they're touching me. And it doesn't hurt. It's just them kind of going, hey, we're here, And I don't know if this is something Penny experienced, but she said that the robes, when she mentioned the robes, she said that they appeared to her, and I sense them, but I don't see them with my eyes. I sense their presence, and I feel them touching me. And I don't know if it's because of my experiences that this is being connected to me in a better way. I'm not sure, but I just felt like I wanted to talk about it because if anyone else has experienced this, and I'm not looking right at the chat right now, but I will after. But it would be nice to hear about it. It would be nice if we could all just kind of get together and share that kind of information.
Well, thank you.
But anyway, that's my story.
Yeah, no, thanks for doing that. Well, you were saying earlier, thanking me. Well, I'm thanking all of you guys, because if it was just me sitting there by myself talking about some crazy stuff, it would just be a crazy dude online that is entertaining to watch. But that's not the case. There's been hundreds of people, that I know of personally. Obviously maybe millions worldwide, and just those few, just yourself, that log in online to share publicly. So thank you for doing that, first of all.
You're so welcome. Absolutely.
But I sidetracked myself. I was about to say something else, but I wanted to get to telling you that first, and then it disappeared in my mind. It's something that's going on with me today. I was saying early in the chat that can't remember people's names. I'm trying to recall things, and I've been drinking plenty of water. I just don't know what in the world's going on. and I don't drink
There are
alcohol or
strange
smoke.
energies. I
So
have to say, yesterday and today, I've been feeling these weird chills up and down my spine. Like I can feel the energies are very intense for some reason. I think it has to do with the solar winds and the CMEs coming in. But yes, I feel it too.
right. Oh, actually, now I remembered. It was regarding the touch itself. Do you sense it like a human touch, or is it more like energetic tingle that you translate as a touch? Can you maybe just
Both,
explain
both.
that a little
It's
bit?
both. Yeah, you know, like how like some people describe the sensation if they're just kind of brushing over you, you can sense energies, you know, first the electrical sensation, you know, your hairs go up. Those are the very softer energies, you know, and it feels like spider web sometimes. It sounds icky and sometimes it does feel a little icky, but it does feel like spider web sometimes. And you're like, what is this? And it's nothing's there.
Right.
And
Spider web is a
the other
common
thing,
one I've heard because it was one that confirmed for
right.
me that it wasn't just because I kept thinking, why in the world I can't see any spiders. I was even more of a clean freak then when I was having my
Oh, and you feel
experiences,
like
and I
it's
was
hard too
like,
because you're looking down, and I'm always looking everywhere, and I'm like,
right, I'm
I
like,
know
where the
people think I'm
spiders
crazy
at?
right now,
Yeah,
but you know, there's nothing there. But it also gets so it's an intense sensation as well. It's not painful, but it does literally feel like they come up to me and touch me. I feel their handprint. I feel them touching me, like actual touch. But there's nothing there. So I mean, it's insane. But they pull my
right.
hair. I mean, like not to hurt, but they let me know that I'm there to touch my hair. And I don't know if I'm the only one experiencing that. But it's not to hurt. Like I said, I put my own boundaries up. I have crystals. I make sure that I do the whole, you know, light, love light, you know, serve only I only allow beings and service to others with love over will are my rules. And I make that very clear and these beings are respectful of that. They don't harm me. So it's a touch, it's actual touch.
Well,
And
do you think,
I believe it's just interdimensional.
right? Do you think sometimes, your fears would be kind of holding you back from truly exploring what's there?
I, you know what? I have to tell you, I'm kind of in a funny position right now in my life where things are extremely stressful. You know, I'm a truther and I'm an anti-vaxxer and I shouldn't have gotten as politically emotional as I did. I was emotionally attached to Trump, you know. But when I started doing a lot of digging into Trump, I have to tell you, you know, everybody thinks he's the savior, and I have to say I've done a lot of digging, and he's not exactly who you all think he is. But in any occasion, I got emotionally attached, and I'm in a funny situation now where my whole family won't talk to me anymore. I'm an anti-vaxxer, so now I can't work in the healthcare field anymore. And it's like, or at least that's the way it looks right now. And I wish it weren't so because I actually that's you know I wanted to go back to school eventually to be a doctor of naturopathic medicine, but I do enjoy being in the medical field. I was good at it, and I just feel like it's over, and I'm kind of struggling to understand what I'm supposed to do right now. And I'm just at a very strange crossroads. So I believe that might be a reason that it's holding me back a little bit on a personal level, but maybe I'm just not there yet. And I do believe that they know when I am. And they do actually, you know, people talk about, I hear a lot of like, there's so many like woozy woozy transhumanist bullshit out there. Excuse my French, but it is. It's really, really freaking annoying. And I see it and hear it all the time. And I know people need to make a living. But when you're charging someone like $450 an hour just to do a spiritual reading, I mean, come on, that's a lot of money for this kind of. I mean, a lot of people are doing that. I mean, that's nothing either. I've heard of people, like there are people that have courses for thousands and thousands of dollars, and I'm like, dude, I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to pay rent. You know, it's like,
Right.
really? But
Well,
but
Phoenix,
maybe,
if I
I,
may interject just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to
yeah,
say, the It would be. I can see definitely trying to have a more of a spiritual experience when you're so emotionally wound up and riled up about all these other things going on. But
Yeah.
I guess trying to the point here is like, because I have my own personal, belief system and what I bitch about when I'm not on camera and all these other things. But I try to be more conscious about when I'm at least speaking to touch back onto the other side, the other person that I know I am, that knows, because frustrations are one thing. We always want to let out on the frustrations because it's fun. It's
Oh, right, right.
frustrating. Let's get angry about this. No, but at the end of the day, it doesn't serve you than anything more than until the next frustration, and then it's like, okay, let it out. Then when is the next one coming? Because it's almost like every state of being has its own way of perpetuating itself, and so if you just go from frustration to
That's
frustration
true.
to frustration, you get nothing back but frustrations of more things that are just off in your mindset where you go, am I going crazy? It's like, what in the world is happening here? Because I've definitely been there for the past 2 years for sure, because we're just like, this is what, because I talked to my wife, I turned around and I said, hey, have we shifted dimensions and we just are not aware? Is that what's going on? And so I would ask
I
her
feel
too, and I
like
would
that
like,
sometimes.
so what do you think about this, or what do you think about that, just to make sure that my own wife is on the same page as I am, because she always just sit there and listen to me, and I always, I was like, am I boring you? She's like, no, you got interesting stuff to say. I was like, well, I know, but I'm talking to you so I can get some feedback too, and so anyways, so we have these like, at least, since we're together, we're like, let's at least make sure that we're on the same page, because I've heard some stories of people like, they're really separated to where the husband is Republican, the wife is Democrat. It's like, good luck making that relationship work, because
Oh, I know. That's
because you
really
have two
tough.
opposing mindsets and ideologies, trying to make it work. Because before, and in my
Yeah.
mindset to this day, we still have the Constitution we can unify under. But if you have others that don't see that as a unifying, document which gives everybody the right and freedom, then I'm sorry, I don't know what else we can base it on. I'm certainly not gonna, I don't know, do some of the crazy stuff that's been going on out there. But what I'm trying to say is, you're not alone in what you're going through, and it seems like a lot of people were
I
always
can't be. I
searching.
know.
Say that again.
Yeah. I think going across from my life and personal,
Oh,
I do the
yeah,
best I
I
can
think your
to
internet is finally
still
starting to cut
meditate.
out heavily. Yeah, you sound like
Oh,
a robot
yeah.
cutting up.
I'm not sorry. That's okay. That's enough anyway.
Hold on.
But
Is
I
there did
appreciate
you
you
did you
listening
change
to me.
areas? I'm having really hard time hearing you now because you're really choppy. Can you go to a different area?
Hang on. I'm trying to connect to Wi-Fi. Uh, can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Connect with that internet. I don't know
N-
what my internet is wrong. Yeah,
It's
this is why I
no.
was outside because I knew this would happen.
Okay, no, much better
Let me
now.
go back outside. I'm
Yeah, no,
sorry.
you're much better now. Wherever you are, it's much better. It's a lot cleaner. No, what I was
Okay.
just basically going to say is that it's important to know who you are, because if you give up on who you are, who you feel in your hearts of hearts, if you give that up for the convenience of acceptance or other things, I promise you, you will never forgive yourself until the day you die. It's important that if you already know you're a person that's constantly growing, that's constantly thinking about, different sides, and even to go as far as, okay, I was for Trump, and now you looked more into it. I'm curious what you found, but the point is, it shows that you're also willing to look into several different sides. What you found, what you didn't find, is really not the point. The point is of your mindset and where you are. That if you're
Right.
constantly in that searching point of view, you're always going to see the bigger picture in whatever scenario, And so the important part is to just continue being who you are, because if you're not yourself, there's no one else. I think a long time ago, but Bashar was saying something that it's been a very long time ago, so I'm really trying to draw it from my very, very spotty memory today, but no, it was something about if you're not you, then who's gonna be you? Basically, kind of like that. I'm butchering it, but basically, there's only one you thinking and walking and talking in the way you do things, and the beauty of it is just to continue doing that. I know it doesn't help when you're constantly in that state of frustration or anxiety or other things, but the point is, to try turning off the TV for a while. I promise you the world will still keep on turning. Believe it or
Dude, I
not,
don't
it
work for
will.
TV. No TV.
Well, whatever, what I'm saying is whatever is riling you up, we're riling you up in those senses. Because I noticed certain Telegram groups, were doing the same thing to me, and I just shut them off, and I'm like, oh, I feel much better now. I look out, crickets, just as your place
You're
too.
picky
Everything's nice
about
and quiet.
source.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
I do the best I can to filter things on Telegram. I've seen so much baloney on Telegram that there is a lot of baloney. But I mean, I'm very picky about what I watch, and
Mhm.
it's usually just to research things, and I try to verify things. But regardless, I think ultimately the reason that I wanted to say something was just so I believe like we're all ready for truth and answers,
Mhm.
I think. And I really was hoping the government would be a little bit, I don't know why I was hoping, this is silly, but I really wanted disclosure to happen. I really wanted something to come out, and it's coming to the realization that they're just never going to ever come out with any sort of piece of honesty or credibility. It's ridiculous, and
Well, at
everybody's
least you came to
going
that
off in their own
conclusion
direction.
now. Some people don't even have it in their mindset that that's the case. They still keep looking for those papers in the next Freedom of Information Act that if they file it, they're going to find the answers. You find more answers just walking
Well,
about wherever you are
we're
listening to those
going to be
crickets.
disclosed. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about the crickets. I had to come back outside because I lost you there for a minute.
No, no, no. It's okay.
But
I was giving
I
you a
feel like
compliment saying,
I think what you're doing and what we're as other experiencers, because I know I have a big mouth. I will get my word out there. I'm just in a strange place in my life. But, I will start talking about it more, no matter who says what about me. I really don't care. It's not about that. This is about an experience that I know is shared. There's other people out there, and we should get together and talk about it. And I think that's going to be a big opening for other things.
right. Well, if
So that was
anything,
my
you can
reasoning. But
always
anyway,
chime in and listen to like-minded individuals. Sometimes it helps,
oh,
just
I do. Yeah.
log on to UFO Hub, and I'm always here. So yeah, unless I have to
Well, I
do
appreciate
something
that.
else. I almost
Thank you
canceled
so
today,
much.
so I'm glad I didn't.
No, I'm glad you didn't too. It was good to kind of talk about this. I feel better already, but I felt like I should share it. And what's for someone else. So thank you so much for listening, you guys.
Phoenix Abbey, any time. Um, okay, geez, I guess maybe her internet is spotty too. Um, Let me, before I bring Polly in, Polly, you had your hand raised, and then Crypto, I'll bring you in next. The reason why I almost canceled today, because of that power outage a while back. I was doing an interview with Sherry Wild, and was the second part where we just did Q&A and just kind of going through however many questions and answers we could get. And about maybe an hour and a half into it, if my memory serves me right, just everything went dark. And I posted a video out there. It's unlisted now, but if you go to her video, I relinked it in the description to where I'm basically just sitting in the dark with the flashlight on saying, sorry, this just happened. Power went out. Well, power went out for another 4 hours. So what I did instead, afterwards, what I was doing is have had this generator for quite a long time. It's been on my mind to hook it up to the house and do all the wiring and all that. So I finally started in that progress. And so when I start out with one project, I really get into it until it's done. And so that's why I was considering even, maybe not having this today, postponing to just do an interview on Friday. But anyway, I decided to just kind of take it easy. I know I'll get to it tomorrow and the coming up days, but basically just digging a line to hook up the to the main power line, get the generator set up, figure it out which breaker to run in the house and things like that. Let me see here. So, Polly, you are unmuted on my end. If you unmute yourself on yours, you should be able to talk to me.
Yeah. Well, I guess Phoenix left. This is actually more of a comment for her. I hope she's still listening. But over the years, I've been watching documentaries and reading books. And what she said was really interesting about when she was a kid. They looked like cartoon characters, whatever was in her bedroom. And I think I've come across two people saying the same thing. And actually, I think on I was going to tell her they're on Amazon. She has an Amazon Prime account. One of the free movies you could watch is called Extraordinary. And one of the interviewees says that one of these entities came in the room disguising itself like her mother, but you could tell it wasn't her mother. And I thought she might find that interesting to check that out, to see that other people had that.
Well, she's probably listening. So whatever you might have to say,
Yeah.
she'll hear you. Can you, Polly? Can you please just speak up a little bit?
Yeah, and somewhere along the line, I think I either read in a book or saw in a documentary someone else claiming that the same thing happened to them when they were a child, except it was kind of looking like a clown. It was trying to look like a clown, and they interpreted that it was. Sorry, I got a dog in here.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Maybe the entity was thinking because it's a kid, it would be less threatening to look like something kids might like, but like a clown. But the person described it as really freaking them out. Maybe if Phoenix is still listening, she'd come in. It'd be interesting to hear more about the cartoon character look. And I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a definitely a good point, plausible point, because children are still children, you know. Well, it looks like was there another question you were going to ask of Phoenix? Because it looks like she logged back in.
No, I just wanted to recommend maybe that documentary. I think it's called Extraordinary on Prime. If you have Prime, it's free. Just because it helps if you have unusual experiences and you think you're alone, to hear other people that have similar experiences. You know?
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Polly. I'll mute you again if you want to say something else or speak again. Just raise your hand like Crypto just did, and I'll get back to you. So, however many are out there that want to speak, we'll keep it going until I get tired, as always. Okay. So, Crypto, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours and go ahead.
Howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
I just pretty good. I'll have Dallas by its ball in no time. But hey, I just she said something really cool, and it was something that was kind of going in my mind this week. How like we're taught that you know, general discomfort, we call it anxiety, but and it just never occurred to me that there's something else that we can detect. You know, it's not just someone staring at you behind you. You can definitely feel that, and I know what that is. But there's a whole new level of like it's getting a lot stronger, and I don't know what it was, or but when I heard the number lady, describe, something, along the lines of, this is a psychic number. I'm like, not me, no way, I never, no, just like no way, it didn't even occur to me that, yeah, well, maybe, being sensitive is, uh, even overly sensitive, or I'm not necessarily overreactive, but like that's something to pay attention to. And we're told we're told to call it anxiety, and you need this and you need that for your anxiety, uh, instead of maybe like just hearing and being open to like the other word for my anxiety. And it might be that I'm taking in a lot of information. Like she was describing being touched by people, and but it really does feel like I have trouble sometimes at the gym, yeah, people stare and people look, but sometimes it's really overwhelming. And and just even driving around everything, and you know, I'm not. I'm fine with being called mentally ill if that's what it, but
Oh,
I
come
think
on.
the answer is, I think the answer is way cooler than that. And if you think about it, mentally ill people, or whatever, there's something there. Like I heard someone describe, this person on the bus who clearly didn't have all his faculties, but was mumbling and saying stuff with a caring parent, and that, and he said that he had tuned into this uh, individual, like, and he just said he was on fire, like he mentally, like he was just on a whole new level that we are not at. And I'm like, I love that explanation so much better than, oh well, this person is sick and they just need their Ritalin, or they just need this and they just need that. Um, so it's, I don't know about, I saw a documentary on the Indigo kids, and I still didn't quite get it. Like it just didn't make any sense. Um, but like, whatever works. I think new terminology is I've just welcomed it so much when I hear you know new terminology for the same old shit that we've been hearing from these psychology people, and a lot of these people who are trained in a certain kind of way to label us and classify us, and process us like sausage.
Right.
But the other thing I just wanted to touch on, and then maybe someone else will, time for someone else. But something that came up this week when I heard that lady last week on Friday talk about uh, physics. What was it? Plasma physics.
Yeah.
So I put it on my to-do list, and I like to dive deep, and I started building my list. Um, but it got to me first. Like I knew, like I had already, you know what I mean? I set the intention, and it was a good one. Like I really, you know, that's coming. Like I knew it. I just called it. And I kid you not, it didn't take but a couple days before my astrology lady, one of them I follow, just at the end said, "So I just needed to let you know about this. Da, da, da. I don't know if she's listening to us, but she's somewhere in Europe." And she said, "But this is basically the essence, really quick. I just wanted to share with you guys, plasma physics." And she just dropped the, one paragraph lesson. And I was just so grateful, man. Like, you literally just, you know, playing with this power is, setting your intention, getting ready for something, and it just comes right to you. Way, way faster and way better than I could plan it or engineer it or make up myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but it was, she said that it was, you think something, and it just got everything turning because it was so cool. I'll get into the more science part of it later on. But she said that, like you think of something, and what plasma will do, it's basically, in my opinion, or from what I understand briefly, is that it is the ether. Okay, uh, so the plasma, if you think of something, the plasma already arranges itself to build a skeleton of something, like the physical manifestation of what it is that you're thinking. So you think of it, you the plasma will arrange itself. It will create the skeleton, and then the meat gets put on it. I'm not sure. That's where I'm not sure, but I thought it was really neat because it was really close to how Dr. Stephen Greer described the way ETs manufacture things.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll stand and say, and this is just what they do, they, and then it just appears, like it just right where they do it, and it is technology, where you use the plasma, I guess, architecture to, assemble it it can conduct electricity. That's what makes it unique as opposed to a gas. It's one stage up. And so our thoughts are the probably the electricity, the uh, the mass or the frame gets set up. It's protons and electrons that are always in equilibrium charge wise, but it's pretty effing close to matter without being matter if I ever came across it. And I just thought it was so awesome how it does kind of match up with the ability to like you know just all of a sudden you have your spacesuit on and there's no seams, it fits your body perfectly, and there's no issue with mining or manufacturing, digging shit out of the ground. Like
Hmm.
called you called the elements forth, and that's the manufacturing process. So I just thought, just for a quick, just since Friday, dude, and kind of getting ready to go that direction, I had to get my room ready for reading and some other things, and I'm super excited about it, super stoked. Like I'm really getting ready to just dive in a wonderful atmosphere that's fit for this. And I just got that gift, that little present of this is pleasant physics from my astrology lady who would never talk about anything like this, and it was just added on the end like an Easter egg. And I was just so grateful for that. And it's just so this is where I come for inspiration, this channel. And I've decided not to talk to anybody about UFO Hub or bring him verbally, and just wear my t-shirts. And they will come to me. It's like any other program of attraction. You just be it, and hopefully it will come right to you. Maybe the exactly what I want will just literally come sit in my lap. That's
It's well. First of all, thank you very much for doing that, and that is a support on a level that I don't know what else to say other than thank you. But
I tell
what I
you, it
was going to
catches
say,
heads.
well, true, because I have, a while back, we were needing a trailer, right, to get all this stuff, all the equipment and stuff to do these conferences as I was mentioning. Well, on that trailer, I have real big on it UFO Hub, and every time I stopped the damn truck, everybody was like, opening the windows, honking, like, "What's UFO Hub?" I was like directing them to YouTube or whatever, or and the ones, some of them were like really silly. One, I could see they're like turning down the window, and I said, "Are the aliens landing now? Are they landing right now?" I was like, "No." And then turned green. I was like, "Bye." I mean, I can't always, I mean, I thought they were having a serious conversation, but it looks like he just wanted to be silly. But yeah, no, it's like I didn't say anything. I just drove the trailer through town, and man, did that turn heads. Because it's a black
Yeah.
trailer with the white logo, and this was before I had the blue circle one. So we'll see if I save up a little bit on it, I might get it changed, but not. I don't think so anytime soon. But yeah, no. It's
It's
always, yeah, it's like for example, like my passion is, as I always said, about aliens and all that. Somehow I always found a way to talk about that, but it wasn't like pushing people on it. You know what I mean? It's like like I was telling, Phoenix earlier, I can't not be anything else but myself, right? So when they talk about, certain things like, perfect example, right? They will talk about, military stuff, right? And they'll just happen to talk about which one does what. The Navy has this, and then the military, the Air Force has these ships and all this other stuff. And then I would just say something about, well, if you subscribe to such a thing and consider some of the alien reverse technology that was used on some of those, I'm really excited to see what those can do. And then they'll stop and turn, and like, "What are you talking about?" And so anyway, this was like not me pushing it on them. I thought we were having a conversation, so them being themselves and me being myself, I just blurred that out, and I don't look back or regret anything. And I think that's like the best way to be. It's like, people that are supposed to get you are going to get you. If they don't, then I don't know. It really is true, like that saying goes. Maybe they weren't friends or people you need to be around anyway.
Well, we know more, all of us here all know more than, more than anyone that it's in our genetics, bro.
Right. Right.
This is in our genetics. This is our story, and I feel sad that we have to wait 250 years to get to level one, you know, or if that's the case. But if I'm not mistaken, we can reject that and change that if enough of us wanted to and did it. Um,
Well,
that's my
right.
understanding. I'm not trying
Right.
to say, I would love to see it happen. I want to live to 120 so I can see the skylines. I just don't want to miss it. And
Right.
as long as I can. It just seems so cool. I want to
Well,
live as long as possible.
you touched on something, if I may talk about this real quick, and the same thing that Lodi Baker was saying something about when talking about manifestation, creating your own reality, and the shift. When can we transcend the current oppression of closed-minded, controlling governments? Right now, it's not exactly in relation to what you're talking about, but we're talking about looking forward to, right? Looking forward to a different change, something different. If I may, I try not to interject too much of myself, but I feel like I have to just kind of touch on this experience. So, as some of you know, obviously, I grew up or was born in Bosnia at age of 8. The war broke out. Then we fled. Long story short, ended up in Germany. Lived there from 92 to 96. Oh, not 96, 98. And then from 98 came to the United States. My whole life constantly, Phoenix asked me earlier about the 80s TVs. Well, our TV was the socialist communist version of what Yugoslavia had of a TV, so it wasn't exactly the same representation of what people had in the United States. We used wood stove, and I didn't realize that there was anything else that can be used other than that. I thought you go outside, you chop up some wood, that's what you use. When we came to Germany, I truly thought we were in this magical land because I kept looking under the electric stove like, where does the wood go? And my parents knew about this, but they were trying to explain to me it doesn't use wood, it's electricity. So I was like, there's no fire. And that was my first experience with touching a hot stove in that way, because I knew in the other one, yeah, there's a fire, the plate gets hot, don't touch it. Well, living the way we lived, it was always try to make do with whatever I had. If I couldn't, then I just had to go without. Then eventually we came to the United States, and then, very similar process to where like, wow, it's like you work hard, you get what you want. If you can be trusted, the banks, say, oh, you have a job, here's some money, go buy yourself a car. The next thing you know, being hard workers, we were able to buy a house, obviously paying mortgage on it, but we were able to get it. Same thing with cars, and in St. Louis, the Americans initially, they were getting a little bit mad because there was this conversation that was going well into from like 1998 into 2002 about, what is the government giving these Bosnians? It's like all these kids are driving brand new cars, and it's at that time, it's like, I don't know why nobody wanted to touch on this. It's like, brother, it's all loans, nobody has given anything. Whatever they have to pay it back. It's just that America makes it convenient to be able to get a loan. In other country, you have to give up your
Right.
first child. Anyway, there's a point where I'm trying to get at this. I'm trying to build a story for those that might not understand or know, might come from. The whole idea was where I live now and with my wife and children. In the past 3 or 4 years, more so, it was we literally would talk and would literally just sit at the porch and just relax and just take in and say, look at the heaven that I'm in right now. What the point is, I'm in America, was able to get and buy my own land and the house, and we're sitting in the middle of the woods with no one else around and just calm, you know. And it was important to just stop and appreciate what we have in that moment, where we are at in that moment. Because the mind always goes, okay, what's next? What's next? I got to go to work. I have to do this. Do I have enough money? Did I pay the bills? Okay, do I have paid this? Then I can save for this. Do I want to go to movies? Can I go? The mind will never stop. And it was just this feeling. There was no words. It was just simply feeling. And it was, I would even go as far as calling it a metaphysical, supernatural experience, to where, we just sat there and we were just happy to be. With all the world's worries, there would always be worries, because the point is, those worries will always transform and continue themselves until the day you die. And so you will always find something to worry about, but we never stop to turn it the other way around and just say, I'm just happy with whatever I have here. I may not, become a millionaire. I may not, know where the next meal, be coming from. I'm speaking from different perspectives, and there could be a million things to worry about. Why not cut all that stuff out and just, enjoy life for you where you are? And it's more ways than one. I'm more happy that I had more of a childlike mind during the war, because then if I had to worry about what my parents worried about, I think I would have turned out differently, but although I had fears and I was worried, somebody's coming to get you and they will kill you if they find you, so hide and go here and go there and run and whatever, whatever it was needed to do, and the point is that started in my life very, very early, right? And you kind of stressed in that way, and then it continues, and then you get to Germany and then new culture, trying to speak to people. Then they put us in this, basically a ghetto. It's called, in German, they call it Ausländerheim. And it's basically a place where they didn't know what to do with this large influx of refugees. So they put us all in one place. Well, there's like 50 different nations with 50 different languages and cultures. How do you think that's going to work out?
Wow.
So, we had basically in that floor that they gave us, there was supposed to be one apartment, right? But they basically broke up every bedroom. And so they gave one bedroom to us, and then, the other neighbors and so on. So on one floor, we had about 4 families. We were from Bosnia. Then, of course, we were Croatia, which is not that dissimilar from each other, Croatian, and then Armenian and Russian, and so we shared a kitchen and one bathroom for, years, of basically 4 families of 4, right? But never thought to mind, because compared to war, this was heaven, right? But we never, what I'm saying is, those were all worrisome, states that I could drag with me to this day and just feel like, oh my God, I didn't get this because of that, and constantly, be worried. And now looking at governments, I was in a country that basically entirely broke down. It doesn't exist anymore. Yugoslavia used to be on a map. It's not there anymore. There's just the landmarks of separate countries, and so, but the people continued. And so, I'm hoping, and I'm not saying the United States, for example, will break apart, but the point is that there will be life after. So you can try to just be at peace where you are. It doesn't mean that, okay, fine, you don't want to forget about your world problems. That, I understand, because some people think that if I'm worried, if I'm on top of it, I will then prevent a danger. That I perfectly understand. But the point is, there will always, always, always be a danger. There will always be something for you to worry about, and that will never stop until you tell yourself, I am happy where I'm at. It's like constantly looking for another job, all these other things. And my wife and I were sitting there in that peaceful state, and we're like, we may not be rich, but this is my heaven. Sitting here, being here with you, and just watching our children being able to do what they're doing, this is a far cry from where I came from, and so you have to just kind of realize and stop and recognize the blessings that you have. And really just let it be okay, instead of always just, letting worry take over your life. You always have choices, and the choice can either be to stop thinking for just 5 seconds, to allow yourself that peace, or you just keep on running like that rat or mouse on the wheel, and until you just croak one day and die. So anyway, so as an answer to Lodi about changes and government controlling, governments have always been controlling, but the point is, like right now where I'm at, I never expected to end up eventually in Arkansas. It was never, anything I thought about. In 2010, when I initially moved out and bought my own house and had all those, experiences that I've shared in the past, I thought that was the house that I will live in forever and possibly just live there and die. This was in Robertsville, Missouri. And I thought that was my life. Only after about 5 years, when I concluded all the things that I was experiencing, my life changed full 180 to where went from single, being by myself, to where it changed over to family, children, new job, new location, everything. And so the whole point was, I could try to hold on to that life in Robertsville, but it served its purpose. And I had to move on, no matter how much I loved it, no matter how much sadness I may still have. So I'm not saying that I want the United States to break up by any means. I love this country as much as every other
Right.
patriot. But all I'm saying is that, at the same time, if something needs to change, however drastically, we just have to allow it to change. But the point here is, by following my
Right.
highest excitement, I've moved, right? And basically to be with the love of my life. And what resulted because of that is that now I was in a state that never locked down. I was in a state that wasn't strict on masks or anything like that, or any of these other mandates. And we basically just continue living our life from this beautiful heaven where I'm at, as we just kept seeing things on TV of lockdowns and burning buildings and I can't call them protests, they're riots, and all the things that went on in Portland and New York and all these other places. But the point is that I put myself, by following my highest excitement, in a position to where I only looked upon it, and it didn't affect my life. I could have been the person that said that I have to get on top of this, and then I would have been like that, mouse on a wheel, to where now I would have made a protest my issue. I would have made a lockdown my issue, or some kind of other restriction, but it didn't touch me. It didn't touch me because I chose not to live it. And I can't say that I knew it at that time, but I trusted. As I was telling Hazel before, I trusted that if I truly follow my highest excitement, the next thing, whatever it may be, to just do that, however much it's fun, until that, loses its interest, and I'll move on to something else. But to never think that I have to figure out where I have to be. Like people often ask, is this place okay? I mean, I asked Penny jokingly too, when she was talking about areas of safe areas and all these other things. I was asking, is Arkansas safe? It was more a rhetorical question. It wasn't out of fear or anything like that. I simply just,
Right.
heard, like people want to know. It's like, is it okay to stand here but not there? Should I be here? Should I go there? Should I provide my own water? Can I get some food? It's like, just try to get out of that mindset of, for example, like this generator that I'm going to install and then use if power ever goes out, is one, because I've had it, and two, I had bought it years ago, that for some reason, wherever I moved, I just felt like I should keep it. And I kept moving from place to place, thinking I'll just take it with me, to literally now end up using it and be a very vital point, or it's going to be a very vital part in my family's life, to where when power goes out, we'll be able to power pretty much the entire house off of it, right? But at that time, that feeling, I didn't know that it meant keep it because 15 years from now, you're going to be needing it for your family. When I moved again, that feeling said keep it. I didn't know that it meant 10 years from now, keep it because it's going to be beneficial to your family. The point was, I just had a feeling and just surrendered and trusted that, okay, I'll go with it. I'll keep it, and just whatever happens, happens. And that is, I find, the hardest part for people to do, because they feel like if the ego is not in control, if you don't have the answers 100% all laid out to where you can see how the path is going to work out for you, they just freak out and don't accept anything else. They just cannot relax. It's
Right.
that basically that boils down to that, to whatever it may be happening, whatever it may be concerned about, just really learn to just let go for your own health's sake. And then the answers will come to you in the forms of feelings that are a lot more relaxing. It's a lot more relaxing if you just have a feeling like, I should turn left here instead of right. Right? It's a lot easier to just take on those feelings when you relax and there's no panic for anything, as opposed to somebody on TV saying, you take this direction, you take it now, you go this way. Otherwise, if you go the other way, this is going to be the end for you. There's huge difference, right? Being told and being scared and feared into doing something, as opposed to shutting all that off and just following that inner guidance that you have. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say regarding that.
Humans love to, get in their own way, but the part of us that I think the part that nobody is really, a lot of people aren't aware of. I think most of us here are, though. The part of us that you know separates us from the animals, I guess, is the ability to just change exactly how you feel pretty much instantly with just your thoughts.
Right.
And so we're literally creating our reality. If you want to use matrix terms, you're bending the matrix. You're literally creating a hologram in front of you of what you're thinking. That's how powerful our brains are. And so if, like, my mother is a worrywart, big time, always, oh, you don't need to do this, you can't do that. And I'm just like, never changed. And it helps me to understand, this is not going to change. I have to learn how to deal with this. I can't change it. It's not going to change. But and then also, just going. Some people say flow, but you're right. Just uh, just letting go. Like, once I just sat still and kind of thought about why I was upset all the time about all kinds of stuff. It's fear, anger, all these things, and it's like, I have no time to study cool shit. I have no time to read this and no time to do that. And as soon as I just started turning my attention to the good stuff, that was all I could see. It was just just instant. It was almost the same day, man, when I committed to pursuing some of the things that I hear in these hallways on the hub. I'm just like, this has just been kind of exactly what I think. I'm probably not the only one in here who really needs this, and just like everyone else coming here every day, or every time we're live,
Well,
to
I think,
tune into
yeah.
yeah. So
No, I was just going to say a lot of people too, they feel like that it's a trick somehow, that they're not paying attention, right? That if you're not paying attention, you're actually being tricked, and that's the whole point, that you can't just let go.
oh
You
yeah,
have to,
no, it's the
you
best
have
thing
to.
in the world. Yeah,
Right. And the thing is,
yeah.
it's not just physical things, right? I'm talking about literal ideas too, because as the saying goes, you can't solve a problem from the state of mind that you created it. This
Oh
which
yeah.
is kind of like you can't see the forest from the trees. Just if I may, real quick, that was perfect example. So we always have, when I met my wife, because she's, she does booking. And so, like accounting, basically, she does the books for the company we work for. So she always had like a different way of dealing with money. So she always like created a separate account to where there's your main spending account, but whatever bills have to get paid, you just put that away and you don't touch it, and that's for bills, and then whatever is left, that's what you have, and if you're out of it, you're out of it, right? And so I never really thought about it that way, and I loved the idea, and she was already handling all this other stuff, so I said, I'll just do what we got to do. And so we somehow got it in our heads, after all these years, right, after all the things that we ended up still getting, and not having any money for it, so to speak. What I'm saying is, we eventually do, but without knowing exactly how it's going to come. We thought, well, let's save, right? So we took, more out and saved there, and like wouldn't touch this part. And so we started noticing our life was becoming more stressful because we were so concentrated on, okay, well, we're saving now. Okay, let's save. So each week, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put a little bit away and all that. And we were, doing exactly the egotistical way, which is, the ego is supposed to know best. So let's save. Each time put this away, and it started creating more stress for us because we were, going to this different place. And first thing we do is like, okay, can we get this? Can we afford this? Will this take too much from the saving or from our main goal? And all these other things. And we were doing that for a couple of months. And on one of the drives from town back, they're always, long. And so we often get to chat about different things. So I just was asking my wife too. I said, do you find this stressful too? That before we weren't really thinking about money. We didn't have any, but we weren't thinking about it. We just knew that whatever we got to spend, it's going to get spent, and that's it, right? But the second we tried to save, all of a sudden, everything, just buying some coffee, became stressful. Going to a grocery store, it's
Right.
like,
Oh
is this going to
gosh.
go over
Yeah.
this amount? Because we put the limit of saving. And so I said, what do you?
Absolutely.
I said, think about all the things that we wanted to buy this and we didn't have the money, but because we were open-minded and just let go and let happen whatever needs to happen, it always works itself out to where either we earned more money or we were given money or something to always get what we wanted. And we know that for a fact. It has always worked for us. And why we thought that all of a sudden we should start saving, I have no idea. But the point was, I said, shall we, let's go back to just living this life to where we put away for bills, but then however we end up spending what we're supposed to spend, to let that be okay and not worry about saving. And literally, like the same day or the other day, we were having some, we were thinking about how more can we possibly be saving, that everything else was so blocked out in our heads, no other possibility or solution entered our mind. And so finally she just said, we could refinance. And I looked at her, I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, we can refinance and do this and put this two together to where we'll lower our payments and all that, and we'll have a lot more left over, right? And that was not possible when if we were still in that mindset of like, oh my God, I gotta save, I have to save, I have to keep going saving. It's like you have to just let go. And so whether you believe that this is a message from higher place, from a higher self, or your brain is relaxed and works a lot better when it's relaxed than when it is under stress, whatever the belief system is, the point is a solution was found. And then we ended up actually, like, the percentages at the banks were awesome. They're like, 1%. Right now we're like 4 or 5% that we're paying. And that's like a huge saving in interest alone. And so basically it turned out that, the payments we're making to the car, to the truck, and the house is basically going to combine into one low price, as if we're only paying for one of the items. And all of that just came about just when we finally just said, okay, let's forget about saving. Let's just relax. There's to go back to having that happier state of being and happier life. And the next thing you know, solutions came. And that is the type of stuff I'm talking about. I'm giving practical, examples to you guys, watching or that will be listening in the future, to where this is, I'm just human, just like you are, but certain things have always worked for us, and I just want to share it to see if, you dare to try them. If you still want to be in that hectic state of, let's figure everything out and plan everything out to the minute detail, then by all means knock yourself out. But, if that hasn't worked for you in the past, there's probably a good reason why it hasn't.
I have a manifesting story right quick, and then I have one
Sure.
question for you before I go. Um, I'm out here running deliveries, all day, and you know, once a month or whatever, people throw the furniture by the dumpsters, and you see cool shit, and it's like it's starting to
That's
text
how we
everyone,
used to
"Hey,
get
you
our
want this?
furniture
This is
for
so
years.
cool. Yeah, this table's so cool. You want it? This dresser is great shape. All this stuff is so cool." And I'm like, I don't know how. Like, everyone's taking their time answering me. I'm trying to find. I have all this cool stuff, and man, I don't know what to do. It's just miserable. And just I was all messed up. And then I just said, you know what? All I want are the potted plants that people have thrown away. I want the soil and the plants if they're still living, and the pots. Like I want. That's all I want. And then it just like instantly became the only, they were everywhere. I was only seeing those. And I was bringing home carloads, and my mom was like, "We have so many." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm so happy. Like, look at this one. I saved this plant, and it has, you know, giant dirt and like all these different." I just felt all the energy from the people who bought them and cared for them at the beginning, and then they didn't make it. I was just attacked, and they were just everywhere. On, I,
Hmm.
I mean, it was crazy. And then I just like one day I just smiled and laughed, and I'm just like, man, thank you, universe. I have so many. Like, I just thank you so much. That was so much fun. For like a week, I was just bringing them home like like a boss, and that was just the most fun I've ever had. And I just thank you. And then I never saw them again, dude. Like it was just ended just like that.
Right.
And I just thought that was so awesome. How like it was just kind of turning it over for one thing and kind of forgetting about it, and then that's all you get. Here you go, buddy. This is what you wanted. It's everywhere. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of ask you was like if you had 3 months off to study some things, like what would be like in your top three or five, I guess.
Say that one more time.
Like
The
if you
what in my study? What top three?
like yeah, like if you had 3 months off to like pursue something, uh, and obviously money wasn't a problem, but you could just like read and study or do something, learn something. What would it be like? What's kind of, you know, what kind of really seems cool that you haven't done already?
Well, it might be extremely boring, but I really want to build a greenhouse.
Build
You know,
one.
right. I mean, that's how always been my mindset. It's like I
Right, right,
always
right.
build my own. Unless I can't, then I ask for some more help. But it's that Bosnian in me. You are the one man show. The what do you call it here? The jack of all trades. Is that the expression?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so my mindset is always like, well, I am me and this is for myself, so I do it. Of course, then,
yeah. And
like
you would.
trailer, for example, we bought, but, not that I couldn't build it, but it was already finished, so it made no sense to reinvent the wheel in that way. So anyway, so for those 3 months, I would love to do that because it's been talking about, my wife and I have been talking about that for literally 5 years. And each year we just say next year, next year, next year, because she had a very
Oh
strong
yeah.
feeling, right? And I had a very strong feeling, but not because of fear, not because of anything, because like, it would be so cool to, have what I remember as a kid. My parents, most of our food we got from the garden. Very rarely did you go out to buy food. You only bought like meat or more heavier things on the market, but mostly things you did for yourself. So anyway, for her and myself, it was just a feeling, right? To want to build a greenhouse and just have it. And so it has been going on for quite a while now, but we kept ignoring it. And
Hmm.
so if we built it, right, let's say 5 years ago, and we didn't do the ignoring like we did, look at what's been happening. Shortages of food in places. Everywhere we go, they say, our usual items are out, or certain prices are now bumped up. You know, you just never know basically if the chain is going to continue. Again, I only say this not out of fear, but it was a perfect example that was the feeling that I was talking about that just came to us, her, my wife and I both, or independently, and we just happened to talk, and we shared the same idea. But the point was, it didn't come as fear. It didn't come like you must build this, kind of like,
Right.
Noah and build the, Noah's Ark because all these people are going to pay one day. The point was, it was just for no reason. We're like, let's build it. But because there was no push. And even to this day, when we finally decided, to want to do it, which eventually I still will, but you asked me if I were to, had 3 months starting now, that's what I would
Oh
do.
yeah.
But not out
That
of
sounds
fear, because
absolutely
it's
perfect.
something, right? It's something we wanted to do because we keep thinking about, okay, we're going to all these because they have the best cheap food there, and it's always fresh fruits and veggies and all that. And it's like, peppers, we can grow tomatoes, we can grow all these things, and we have 6 acres of land. It's so silly for us to stand still, go out of the country, go to the supermarket 40 minutes from here,
Right.
buy the stuff, and then come back. And I'm not dissing it. I appreciate the markets and the way we've been doing it. I understand. But, like kind of like Penny was saying, and I kind of resonated with me, it helps to just kind of revert back on how people used to live, to where how I remember as a kid, to where, you know, trade was something you just occasionally did. Is you took of your stuff, you took care of your family. We had huge garden there, so anything I wanted, I would go pick strawberries, whatever, plums, any fruit, any veggie, and I thought that was life, that was good, that was heaven. As a kid, I was never hungry. I ate at home. Why? Because I already ate from the garden. And so anyway, so talking about that feeling, now when I think back on it, it would come in perfectly if I and my wife followed it years ago, earlier, and going on now, we would have already then been in this place to where, oh, well, not only, do we have nothing to worry about to begin with, but we don't have to now build it out of stress. We don't have to build it, to hurry up,
Right.
to get ahead of this game because everything might collapse. We're still not thinking that way. I'm still at ease. The first thing I'm doing is just building that generator. Why? Because I've had that damn thing for 15 years. It's like, and so when we sat in the dark for 4 hours, I was like, wouldn't it be nice if I just had my system set up where I could just turn on the generator, and especially living in the woods where we do, it's like, why not utilize more of the things you have? It's just more of a commonsensical thing, but not out of fear. That's important to understand, not out of fear, just simply like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love building
The
shit,
worst
so I was like,
motive.
wow, I'm looking forward to building the platform, digging out the hole for the conduit line. How am I going to make the housing? I want to insulate it so when it's running, it runs quietly, but also gets enough air for it, and that kind of stuff excites me. The same thing did here. It's like, what system do I need for this? How do I set up Telegram? Do I need this mic? I built this stand myself, because I wanted something sturdier. It's all those things that I love doing anyway. Just do more of it, not out of fear, like, oh my
Right.
God, I'm afraid that this mic might fall down, so I better build this best thing because I don't want it to fall down. No, I just wanted
Yeah.
something that it's not going to
So
go anywhere anytime
I may
soon.
have a shortcut for you. I may have a shortcut for you on the greenhouse.
Go ahead.
Because I love them. I'm a big fan. Had a few in my lifetime so far, and but I think if I was going to do it again myself, I would go to Pacific Domes and get a skeleton or something. I
Hmm.
think that's how I would want to do it. I think that's how I would want to, because I'm so like about the space, the how much I can do in the space, how I feel in the space,
Right.
how tall things can grow. But they might you might find a skeleton there super cheap, and then the rest, kind of figure out some other way. But I
Right.
don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not telling you what to do. That's for sure.
No, I certainly appreciate, your input. I know, look, there's a specific thing we're looking for. I kind of drew it out the other day for my wife and I said, what do you think like this? Because of we wanted it close to the house, but not too far, and there's a specific design I'm going for. So I just
Uh-huh.
found it a lot easier to just see if the prices drop much more on the lumber and then just buy all the stuff I need and make something a little bit more sturdier. But anyway, but the point, yeah. Anyway, just to answer your question, it would have been that greenhouse. If I had 3 months, nothing else to do, would have been like would have had a greenhouse by the end of that.
I'm gonna laugh if you get it this month. If something happens, we opened up that portal already. It's on the way,
That
some way, shape, or form.
what are you talking about? Which part?
Your greenhouse. I'm gonna laugh if it just manifests itself.
Right? Yeah. No. Honestly, I wouldn't be
That's how it
surprised at
works, though.
all.
Like, yeah,
Yep.
let's just going with the good vibes and kind of leave it alone, and it will literally, something will happen. Probably Polly has it. He's raising his hand.
Yep, I know. I was going to get to him next. But yeah, Crypto, thanks for, chiming in. Let me see what Paulie wanted, and we'll just keep it
Sure,
going.
yeah.
However many more people will actually talk to me. Otherwise, I'll refer back to
Yep.
chat. I've been neglecting it. I haven't seen what
Yep,
other
yep.
questions might have come through there. All right,
All right, y'all have a
Crypto,
good night.
thank
See
you.
Mm.
Okay. Paulie, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I invited a couple friends in. They're probably listening on YouTube, and I'm hoping when they have the courage to call in too and share their stories. So that's why I wanted to wait. But this
Oh, well,
weekend
thanks
was
for
pretty neat
doing
for
that. Hi, Paulie's friends, if you're watching.
me. This weekend was pretty neat. It was a place I've always wanted to check out, but was kind of lazy. Sedona, that area.
Mhm.
And
Oh, you're close there. I
I,
mean, 3 hours, right, or so?
it's about 8, but on a holiday traffic, a lot of people are going to Vegas and it gets jammed up driving from
Real
LA.
quick, so
But
so from
what's that?
here, from where you at to Los Angeles, how many hours is that? Not Los Angeles, Las Vegas.
Well, no, from Los Angeles there's like 8 hours, maybe Vegas 4 hours, but
Okay,
a
maybe that's what
lot
I'm
of
thinking of, because Sedona is would be much further. Because I remember my trip, as I mentioned to you earlier before we went on air. When I was thinking about how long it took us to drive from Las Vegas to LA, I was kind of going off of that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about going from LA to Vegas on a holiday weekend, the map says 4, but everybody's doing it, so it turns into a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
But now I found a website, Dark Site Finder, and I looked all over the country, and the darkest place in the country by amount of light pollution is around the Grand Canyon. So I did a trip up there the day before, and it was well worth it. Now, if anybody, including yourself, maybe when your kids are older, you're looking for a trip, if you go out camping around Grand Canyon, you'll see the sky. If there's no moon, it'll look like those Apple desktops. So you buy an Apple computer, they put those desktop pictures by default, and it looks fake. There's so many stars, and you see the Milky Way, and it doesn't look. It looks like a glowing cloud. Well, that's real. And it was the first time I got to see it, and it took a little effort. I didn't want to camp because I'm not a camper, but I found an Airbnb where they have a pre-made kind of campsite. Could you take that away from me? And then it was pretty neat to amplify the experience. This is where the paranormal stuff comes in. Mm-hmm. So to amplify the experience a little bit, I treated myself to just a little mushrooms, not a lot, just to make everything prettier. But something weird came through. I wasn't meditating. I was just enjoying the stars, and suddenly, the night sky, which was pitch black, turned red, pinkish. And my girlfriend and I go, "Hey, do you see it? Is everything red?" She's like, "No," because I thought, I don't know, something was going on. Like it looked like a sunset, and then I swear this face appeared. My eyes are open. It's like I'm meditating. And the face looked like, I guess, what you'd call a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just kind of like your story when you said you were driving and everything slowed down and you looked up and you saw a cloud that looked like the alien mug you have.
Right.
Right? It was kind of like that. It happened for a few seconds. And normally I would say, it's my imagination. I was tripping really hard, but I really wasn't. I was the red sky appeared or it took a hue, and if you've ever had a psychic contact with an entity, it lasts for me about a minute, but then I wonder if anybody listening to this has ever had a psychic experience like that. And I don't really feel like I have a connection with Bigfoot, but I think I've heard on your radio show that you had a Bigfoot guy on. Maybe he was talking about they can project their face to you and do healing, stuff like that. And then,
are you talking about Kiwani?
Perhaps,
Yeah, he was. I couldn't get video through, but he was on over the phone.
Yeah, it was he, and I think he was talking about that they have some kind of higher level consciousness, and they can friendly project their face to you or heal you, stuff like that. Um, and I'm not sure if it was Bigfoot, but it whatever I saw kind of looked like a hairy, long-haired man looking thing.
Right.
And I guess, yeah. And then what's neat is so the next day when I drove down to Sedona, Sedona is a pretty wild place for spiritual people. They've got, I mean, if you're interested in any of the stuff you talk about, you'll find people there that are committed to it. And they have neat shops. One of the things they do there, they have this thing called a UFO tour. Have you ever heard of that or done one?
No,
It's where
no, I haven't.
they give you night vision equipment, like from military quality and laser pointers. And you look up and you can see everything. You see, even though there are a lot of stars down there, not as much as Grand Canyon, you put this equipment on and you can see way, way more stars. Uh, and that, the lady who does it, she actually, I kind of mentioned it to her because it was still in my head and it kind of shook me up a little bit. And then she, yeah, I guess it's serendipity. She's had a lot of experience with, she says there's Bigfoot in Sedona. She used to go to this place called the Bradshaw Ranch. I guess it's kind of like a skinwalker ranch. And then she recommended a book I check out at this like little crystal store. And I went and got it. And there's all these weird pictures in here that I've never seen online or anything. And I don't know if this is in print very much, but uh, yeah, she said, oh yeah, they do that. If your vibration's right, they can sense it and they might psychically project themselves um, into your consciousness like that. So it was kind of reaffirming. Uh,
Well,
but the
spirit,
the
yeah,
UFO,
spirit is spirit. You know, it's all the difference is vibration. So whatever you tune into, it's there's not a distinct like difference between ghost or Bigfoot or alien. I mean, you probably already know this. I'm just commenting on it. You just match the vibration, and you'll be surprised what you see.
yeah, I suppose I was really excited, happy to be out there. I was in a really good mood. I had good company, and yeah, I don't know, maybe that's why I connected. And I'm open to these things. Ever since I started being open to anything like that, they started showing up. Kind of like the gentleman who was talking about he wanted to find plants, and suddenly they were everywhere for that
Hmm.
time being. That's kind of how it works. But as for the UFO tour, it was a great experience. And I'm not sure. So we probably saw 100 things over an hour. I would
Oh, wow.
imagine most probably satellites though, but there was a couple things that kind of looked like they were stopping and maybe changing direction. But it was really fun. It's the kind of thing you see on those CSETI videos or Stephen
Right.
Greer where they're shining a laser. Like they're little groups and tours. They can do it. I don't think they can do that in every city because that equipment will will get destroyed if it's pointed at a bright light for not very long. Like they said if they said somebody they didn't know and they were looking at the full moon with it while it was turned on and it ruined the goggles
Oh,
after a
wow.
couple.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's
Yeah,
good. One good thing to know.
yeah.
Well, I had
So
people
maybe
come over to Robertsville where I used to live all the time, and we would not have a fire in the beginning and just watch everything because it blocks out. There's no big city lights around there, you know, and then you see all of it, and then obviously the fire comes on, and then it cuts down, and some of the visibility of different stars.
oh yeah, yeah. But if anybody's listening who's has a connection with the skies and has never been out in the desert, maybe check out one of those websites that shows like dark light pollution maps. And I swear it is worth the effort, the money it takes to get to one of those dark places. You gotta watch the weather, watch the moon to see if the moon's out. But for me, it was well worth the effort to get out there. And I feel a little ignorant never doing that earlier in my life because I feel like there's a whole part of this world we live in, and I've never really seen it for what it is. And I tell you, when all the stars are there, it almost looks fake. I see
Right.
where the flat earthers come up with their theory because there's so many stars it looks like a ceiling, like one of those planetarium shows that you
Right.
see at like the sun or whatever. it's pretty neat. So I don't know if anybody here is listening has had an experience where they had a face show up. Chime in. I think that's neat to talk about. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Paulie. Yeah, no, which reminds me, for some of you watching, Paulie was on Telegram, and so I'm also streaming audio only on Telegram as well. But that's how you also connect to talk to me. So if you simply go to the description below, go to the UFO Hub Telegram link. You're going to have to install either on your computer or phone to install Telegram. But you'll be able to join the voice chat and either listen or raise your hand to talk to me. But yeah, no, what I was going to also say, Paulie, before you left, it was I did get close to Sedona, but my friend and I were driving back from LA. We just ended up, I have a picture of him and I just kind of standing outside. I don't know to have it available right here, right now, but we're standing, just got out. I had a camera on very long shutter because it was so dark, and wanted to have anything up here while we're standing there. Anyway, we couldn't, the drive from St. Louis to LA and then from LA to back, we basically, from St. Louis to LA, we drove with just minor stops and very short periods of time. Altogether, it was like 36 hours in that car. And we were just so happy to finally be at a destination hotel and just relax. And on our way back, we kind of, learned our lesson to not take that long of breaks, so we'll make it home quicker. So anyway, I made a stop very close to Sedona. We were only like maybe, I don't know, I want to say like 20 minutes away, but in my mind and his mind, it was like, ages away. And we were like, let's just stop here, take a quick picture, and let's continue on route. But yeah, no, Sedona is definitely something people have always told me about to go and visit. And this is many years down the road. And I always say it jokingly, but I think my wife is starting to get the point that I was like, I can set up this equipment, on like an RV. And if we live our lives, and, just living the way we live, maybe 20 years down the road, I can definitely see us, having an RV. And I was like, I'll just set this up, and then using Starlink from Tesla, it's already 100 meg up, 100 meg down. That's perfect for streaming. So I was like, we can just stop anywhere, wherever, and just have a show live from wherever we happen to be at, if I'm still doing this 20 years from now. I certainly hope so, but you never know what happens. But yeah, no, it's definitely one thing that I want to do more of. Having been in the United States for as long as I have, it's something that I have not done. I want to see the Grand Canyon. Want to go to Sedona. I want to see more of the East and West Coast, and I just don't know that I can do it anytime recently, because I don't know how crazy things get. It depends on, it's almost, I'm just, with the things going on with the Democrats and Republicans right now, I almost feel like, like I'm in a fight between the Crips and the Bloods. I don't want to show up with like a red t-shirt on the East Coast, and then get stabbed because I wore the wrong colors. But it almost feels like when I first came to the United States, when I wanted to go, starting high school, and they told me not to wear certain colors. I was like, why? What? And they told me about different gangs and what different colors represented. And so that's been my high school life there for a little bit before, we moved and found better schools. But I'm starting to feel like that again, just stick to the Midwest and give the coasts a break. But you live on the coast, so what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, yeah, I go back and forth from the LA, which is pretty liberal, to the Midwest, which is a little liberal in the cities. But yeah, it's different. I guess people are more flexible, I'd say, in the Midwest with your thinking, and especially with this lockdown stuff.
Right.
Things are kind of normal now, but I mean, 6 months ago or whatever, like there was no option. You're either in Missouri, there's, some people decided to stay in, some people elected maybe not to stay in, and
Right.
then, but out here, it's just.
Well, I mean, in Missouri, you have
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, like out here, it's it seemed like nobody was smiling for a long time, and if you were, people would look at you like, "What's wrong with you? Don't you know we're in a pandemic? Don't you know?"
Right.
So just
Panic,
I don't
damn it,
know.
panic. But even
Yeah,
Missouri,
but
it's really funny. When I was looking at, especially during the elections, it was more clearer that way. You had St. Louis, um, Jefferson, and Kansas. Those three were the three blue dots. Everything else was red, right? And I was like, it's those three areas that basically control how the rest of the state kind of go. Mainly St. Louis, because
yeah,
I mean, literally, this is why I moved out from St. Louis after living there for so long and being in St. Charles and driving to St. Louis all the time. Moving out 50 miles south of St. Louis, it's like a whole new world, because everybody was even literally warning me. They're like, you're a minority and you're a foreigner and all this other stuff. And the rednecks literally like are going to kill you, and I'm just like, why? It's because like, I just bought this beautiful house. Don't tell me that. And so
yeah.
and man, talking about a bubble burst, because when I moved the 50 miles south, I started seeing America for the first time in all those years. And I was like, this is the America I've been looking for, because my very first experience really, because I haven't, when you're in the city, you have a variety of people, but everyone is just generally speaks English with different accents. Whether you're Asian or from Africa or from whatever European country. Well, it was funny. I bought the house. I've been like repairing it and doing stuff, and I finally hear on the gravel road that there's some activity going on. I was like, oh, might be the neighbors. And the back of my mind, it's the mindset of like, don't go there. The rednecks are gonna kill you, And I'm like, okay. Well, I go out there and just being friendly, just the way I always am. I was like, I'm not gonna stop being that. So I go up there, and I wasn't even fully there, and there was three guys on the tractor that were grading the main road that we all drive on. And one of the guys just came down my way. He was like, "Hey man, now dude, do you want to come up there and get a beer?" I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, "Well, come over and get a beer." I was like, I'm looking at him. I'm trying to be polite, but I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. And then the other guy kind of smiled and laughed, and he came out and he spoke. Later on, I found out he's from Tennessee, and in his accent, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to even try. But basically, said he's asking, how he's saying, "How are you doing? Would you like to come up here and have a beer with us?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And so that was funny. So then we all sat, and after a while, because of different languages, I understood how he twanged his words. So I quickly started learning and understanding him. But, he's basically this dude that builds houses and works for large companies that I have heard the names very well, because they're constantly developing around St. Louis. The other one was a veteran from Tennessee. Another one also a veteran from Missouri. And we just had awesome, talks because, my stories in Germany, and then they were also stationed in Germany, and all this other stuff. So it was really awesome. Became the best neighbors that anyone could ever rely on. But talking about giving into other people's fears, same thing around here. They all think that people are backwards and all kinds of stuff. So I could not be further from the truth. I mean, we're like really smart people, that, have like hundreds of, cattle and know how to handle them and all this other stuff. And like, really, it's funny because especially, our neighbor, Paul, my father-in-law, he cracks him up every time. He looks like your typical, farmer, right? And you would judge him as that, and probably all he knows is cows and all this other stuff. But my father-in-law was, he was having issue with his phone, and he said, "Here, let me see that." And he was like changing out some settings, doing all this other stuff, and he's like, "Okay, here you go, they'll fix it." He's like, "Oh wow, thank you." And it turns out he, before he became a farmer, worked, for the telephone company and was, into electronics and doing a lot of the, electronic type stuff. Anyway, so talking about judging a book by its cover, so there's so many smart Americans, like what I consider Americans. As a foreigner, I finally, for the first time, started seeing Americans and what American food is like. Having your typical, mashed potatoes and gravy, and having a steak, and having a shindig and all this other stuff that they do, and tractor pulls, and it's just so close and always welcome. And nobody ever, looked at me cross-eyed because of where I was from. They were always even more interested at nauseum over, wanting me to tell them more about where I'm from, and all this other stuff, and they would just listen, and talking about again my preconceived ideas of, oh no, do not talk to them.
Yeah, I don't know why rural America kind of gets a bad rap for that, but I think they're friendlier and nicer. Like, let's say if I were to have a flat tire, I'd rather have one in a rural area than out here, because a million people drive right by
Oh,
you.
on our dirt road, if I stop to just look at a beautiful, because just the way the mountains are, and you look at a beautiful sunset, at least like out of 5, 4 cars would stop and say, "You okay? Do you need help? Is everything all right?" And I'm like, "No, everything's fine. I'm just, watching nature. Thank you, though." And we chat a little bit, that way, and they go about, their business. But yeah, no, that's how it was. Especially in Robertsville, I used to run out of gas all the time because I was just always lazy and making sure I had enough. But I always made sure I had about 2 gallons of gas in the trunk so that I could refill it, especially driving these 50-mile long distances. Well, anyway, I was basically I ran out of gas, and I didn't have anything in the can. I literally just got out of the car, grabbed the can. I took 2 steps, and it started to like drizzle. I was like, oh my God, it's going to rain. And I have at least a 4-mile hike to the station. It was 3 seconds after that, a truck just pulled right up to me. It's like, "Hey buddy, jump in, I'll drive you to the station." I was like, awesome. There was a perfect timing. And he drove me 4 miles out. I filled up the can, and he drove me all the way back. And I offered them money, didn't want it. I thanked him very much, but that's my experience. Outside of cities, that's the America I've always known, And so it's one of these things to where, it's you have to, I guess, as a foreigner, I wanted to see both sides, and so eventually ended up liking this side more, so I stayed. And my parents are in St. Louis and St. Charles, and they only ever known that kind of America. So when they come here and they see people, and the way they talk, it's not like in the cities. In the cities, it's short. Now St. Louis, definitely not the typical big city type, because you still have people stop to talk and all this other stuff. But Chicago, that was the other big city I was in. No way in hell. You smile at somebody, they're like, "What the fuck you want?" LA was, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but just in LA, I was just walking around. I had my phone. I don't know what I was thinking. I just wanted to ask some guys, like, "Hey, is this place right around the corner? What would you know?" And he wanted money to tell me for me to right. And so I didn't have any cash, and I said, "I'm sorry." It's like, "I can't help you," and he moved on. It's like the most basic things that you would just ask somebody to, like, here you ask them, they give you like a book and directions, and like draw out a plan of how to get there. And so anyway, maybe it could have been like maybe an isolated experience, but the week that I was there, it was pretty much a daily thing, to where it was not very comfortable. I had to stop smiling. I had to stop looking at people, because they thought somehow it was a disrespectful thing. Like, what the hell do you want? Whereas in here, when you approach people, you look at them, you say hi and all that other stuff. So for a week, I had to just change my mannerisms for a little bit.
Yeah, we got there's some issues out here. One of the things that I noticed, I don't know, for people not from this area, I'm sure maybe you've seen on the news, but our homeless population has grown quite a bit the last few years.
Oh, I've
And
seen
it's a little
a lot of
disheartening.
them. Do you see a lot of them?
Yeah. Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah. And what's interesting is, like, California, LA tries to market itself as this really progressive, caring, most liberal place. But what I see is I see a lot of people on the street or sleeping, and I'll just nobody talks to them. You'll see hundreds of people just walk around. Nobody ever stops to check. Sometimes when they're sleeping in the middle of a sidewalk in a busy area, you can't tell if they need medical help, like they're passed out or what. But I guess people are desensitized at this point. Like, could you imagine where you're at if you went and you took a nap on the sidewalk? I mean, how many people would stop what they're doing and come and make sure you're okay? But here, just people just step over them. It's crazy, and
Right.
it's kind of sad. But
It's hard.
I don't
It's
know.
it is sad when you have to dishearten yourself like you're in a third world country, to where that's something that, I was actually watching a documentary on it, and even like during Bosnia, during the war, when everybody was like pretty much survive on your own because there's nothing else your neighbor can do as well because you ain't got guns either, and so if you're running in the same directions, but everybody helped each other. Everybody helped. It's like whatever they could do. Like we had a car, and when we were fleeing, even when the military was basically like corralling the city because you could hear the gunfire from this one direction. Even my dad like pulled over and just we had just enough for one more person, but he picked up one woman, that was fleeing with us. And the funny part is she was a Serb too. They just told you exactly, like nobody knew what the fuck was going on. Like why is everything just breaking down? But talking about things that taking the spiritual or the supernatural concept to this, that woman ended up saving our life. Because what was happening is because nobody knew who was attacking, and it turns out later that this was like a paramilitary group. They weren't officially military, but this was during the Bijeljina massacre. It was like 1992. You can look it up on the web. Well, anyway, it was like a paramilitary group that went in and took kind of matters in their own hands to get this thing started because they were getting restless. Like, all right, let's start killing, Bosnians, and so. As we were fleeing, we picked her up. We all, or whoever could, walked, ran, or drove to a military base, thinking, well, the military would protect us, right? Because we're all Yugoslavian, not realizing that has already broken down. And so what had happened in that specific base, the Serbs had already taken over control. And so if you were, because there used to be in the military you had Croats, Bosnians, Serbians, they were all in one military. Well, somehow a plan or whatever came down the pike, to take over that base, and so we were basically running into the enemy's hands. So what they did is, as we were coming in, they're like, come in, you're safe. And then they separated men from women, as we were coming in. And that woman for hours was talking and begging him to because they were basically keeping everyone wherever you were outside. There was no shelter, nothing. You just slept outside. This was going on for hours, well into the night. And so because my uncle and my dad were taken away to be interrogated, and so she just begged them. I said, just let them come with me, and then I will, I'll take him home because there's nowhere else to stay here, and I'll bring him back the next day, right? Well, she did that with no intent to ever let us come back again. And we found out that night they killed everybody, And it's like those just these small things that if just hour here, hour there, I could have been part of that, And so what I was going to say, I was getting into the whole idea is we were still helping each other, right? But it seems like, like you were mentioning in LA, it's like, don't become so complacent. It's like, just get to know your neighbors. I know so many miles this way and so many miles down that way of who lives there, who it is, and all their names, because that's what knowing your neighbors is like, so that they can come for me to me for something and I can go to them. But to be like like my parents were, and when I lived with them in St. Charles, we lived next to the neighbors for like 15, 20 years. We only knew the neighbor immediately right next to us, and we just knew their first names. That's it. And there was basically houses packed upon house upon house, but we didn't know anyone because everyone and including my parents, we just went to work. We came home. We went outside the city to have a good time, but we came back and you didn't socialize with anyone else around you. So the whole neighborhood feel just wasn't there like it used to be, from what I hear from the old timers in the United States.
Yeah, nobody knows their neighbors. I have a friend here. She had a paranormal experience she'd like to talk about.
Yeah, please do.
She didn't. She does. She does have a Telegram, but I got her on speakerphone. Let's see if this is gonna work. Can you hear? Can you hear me? Speak louder. Try again.
It does sound like you have her on a very tiny speaker. It's very high pitched.
Let me see. Let's try again. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Trying to find the microphone on
yeah, I can hear her. I think it might be very very high pitched, very tinny for that speaker. If there's a way, I don't want you giving it out on here. If she has a phone, I can dial her in and call her that way if she wants to do that.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you email me under contact ufohub@gmail.com?
Yeah, contact ufohub@gmail. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, just email me there, and I will see to at least bring her in voice wise.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you, Paulie. Fab, you're unmuted. Unmute yourself on your end, and you're good to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, how are you, man?
Oh, not too bad. Thank you very much. Surviving. I just wanted to have a quick clarification. About 2 weeks ago, if you remember, we talked about a footage, some UFO that fell down the sky.
Right.
And crashed. Right. I wanted to bring some precision on that. It kind of looks like, I was thinking it was perhaps a smoking gun, but unfortunately, it's not the real deal. I've done some further research, and the footage that we had of the crashed craft is not actually relating to the one that actually fell down.
Right. What were you able to find out?
Well, actually, it's how you call that in English? It's two pieces of different videos that have actually been put together. So the one that is tumbling down and falling down is obviously quite real, but the other piece of the crashed on the ground, etc., actually does not relate to the craft itself that was falling down. So it's two pieces of footage that have been put together into one story, and unfortunately, it's not the real deal. So I just wanted to bring some precision on that, rather than staying on a fake story.
Okay, well, no, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, we were looking at that because it was the way it was tumbling, and then it hits the ground, and we were discussing just the way it, for one, it didn't look like a capsule, and two, on the ground, it should have disintegrated more. Instead, it kept pretty much intact.
That's right. Well, that one it does not relate to the one that was falling down. Actually, I've managed to gather some info on that, and when you look at it, it's actually quite banged up. Once it actually hit the ground.
Right.
So there you go. But unless you have questions for me for something else, I just wanted to clarify that. I don't like to sort of bring info, and make some sort of
Well, I mean,
decision on that.
I don't think
And
we
then,
gave a distinct answer. We were speculating on a lot of things. And it's
yes,
like, wow, that looks interesting. But I don't think you or I were sitting there claiming like, wow, this is real, guys. This is the best evidence we've ever seen. We were comparing to what we knew and what fit and what didn't fit. But it's not something where we would have to go back and put a retraction out or something like that.
right. Well, I cannot put a retraction because I was pretty strong on it.
Sure.
So
But
I had
thank
to
you for
come back
doing that.
online. Yeah, well, that's the least we can do. There is so many information out there, but not very accurate. I think it's important, to sort of quite simply do a bit of read, clean right. It's very important to do that. It's important to admit, okay, I've seen something on. I have my own interpretation, and later on come back and say, well, I was wrong. And I think it's very important, especially in the UFO field, to realize when something might be happening, and also realize, well, I got it wrong, and
Yeah.
quite simply, to mention it. There's nothing to be sorry about, but to basically have a clear idea what's going on. There's so much disinformation. There's no need to actually bring some more on top of that.
Right. Cryptos is laughing. He said, Fab, you said fake news in French. What is fake news in French? Maybe I missed
even
it.
used in English in France. It's supposed to tell you how famous this term is. We even say fake news in French.
Okay. Well, Fab, unless you wanted to talk to me about something specific, I was wanting to see if I can get a hold of this gal that can't get to Telegram, and to see
Yes.
if she wanted to share a story. Would that be okay with you, or do you want to share something first?
That's more than okay, actually. I thought I just pump in very quickly before that happened, so I can quite simply put the score right.
Okay. All right. Well, Fab, thank you. I appreciate it for clarifying that. That's
Not
good
a
to
problem.
know.
Okay, good night, Dan. Good night to everyone.
All right. Take care, Fab.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. So let's see if I can call this person out. And I'm sorry for those on Telegram. You might hear a Skype call, but at least it's not going to go out to everyone else on the stream. Hi, is this Paulie's friend? Oh, hi. Hi, Marley. One quick second. Let me unmute you here. Go ahead. Can you say a few more words?
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Yeah, no, you're coming through. You're coming through clear, and I think everyone else can also hear you too. Let me unmute Paulie real quick. Paulie, you're unmuted as well. What's up? Okay, maybe he just clicked it by accident.
Okay. No. This is I didn't want to say, but this is Marley's first time listening in, so she's probably gonna feel the room. But I've known her for years, and she always has really, really interesting, I guess, paranormal experiences from her time living on the desert. And she just happened to mention that she's got a good story for me that happened this weekend, and I haven't heard it yet. And I was like, you know what? I have an interesting story too. Maybe we could just do it online. So.
Well, I mean,
Marley.
this works too. This was actually, you said, what was the name? I'm sorry again. Marley. Yeah, no, this was something I never really thought about. It was in a pinch when I tried to talk to Kiwani. He couldn't get his camera to work and couldn't get any of the connection to work. And so I was looking at Skype, and I have, Skype credit, and I was like, hold on a minute, I can call him. And so that became my backup option. So I'm glad I get to use it again on you too. Although you haven't come through Telegram, at least you can come through this way to share your story. So please just start out however you like.
Okay. It's a great connection. It's better than my phone sometimes.
Yeah.
So I have this house in a really rural part of New Mexico, way out in the middle of nowhere. There's really no neighbors for about 30 miles in any direction. It's about 60 miles to a medium-sized town. And I like to go out there because there's no Wi-Fi and there's no phone and there's no distractions. So I was there this weekend, and I have a little pendant that hangs in the window, and when the sun comes up over the hill in the morning, it refracts, and makes little rainbows all over the room. So it did that, and my partner and I were sitting there and talking about how cool it would be to have more of them. And he left to go in the other room and make coffee, and the rainbows were all gone, and this little white orb appeared, first in front of me and then up against the wall. It was about the size of a golf ball, and it was pulsating back and forth along the wall to the same beat of my heart, or it was pretty close. So I watched it for a while and thought, wow, that's really strange. There's no breeze outside. It wasn't refracted light. It was its own little glowing white orb. And I'd put my hand up against the wall, and it would stop moving and just edge towards my hand, and then it would stop right next to my pinky finger. And then if I took my hand away, it would start just going back and forth against the wall again. I played with it for about, I don't know, a good 10 minutes, trying to figure out what it was or what it meant or who it was. I never did figure it out, and I finally, my partner showed up again. I said, you got to see this. This is so cool. And he's very scientifically, rationally minded, and said, there's got to be an explanation. And I said, you figure it out then, because it's not coming through anything in the window. And he stood in front of it, and it was against his chest, completely still and glowing so brightly. But then when he moved away, it went back to the wall and just raced up and down against the wall. It was very cool. I have no idea what it is.
Oh, wow. So was this a one and only experience you ever had?
No, not there, and not with orbs. I was driving back there once on a road that there's hardly any cars on, and the Rio Grande Gorge, which is a really deep gorge in New Mexico, is, I don't know, maybe 15 miles from the house. I was driving back, and it was getting dark, and I could see these two white glowing objects about the size of headlights, and they were bouncing along together, and I thought, oh, somebody's driving out there on the mesa. That's a weird place to be driving because it's really rocky, and the lights looked like they were going way too fast for the road conditions. But they stayed parallel, and they bounced along. And I thought, there's no road out there. There's no way anybody's out there driving. And there's a curve in the road. When I turned on to made the curve, the lights zoomed up, and there was one on each side of my car, just in front of the rear view mirrors. So it wasn't reflected light from a car behind me. There were no cars behind me. There were no cars in front of me. There were no cars. And they just paralleled the car for maybe 5 miles, and I was trying to make up all these excuses in my head. It's got to be somebody's headlight from somewhere, or high beams bouncing off of something. Finally, a car started coming towards me in the opposite direction, and they both swooped in front of my car and between me and the other car and went off into Mesa, and I never saw them again. But yeah, so it was really a trippy experience.
Wow, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, I mean, but for you, it's always been observing them, but beyond the observation, you haven't really gathered any deeper understanding about it?
No, not really. They seemed friendly. I
Right.
mean,
No, that's all right. Just wondering, because some people, the only reason why I ask, because, usually certain things like that are accompanied with like, quite a, different dimensional experience. So that's why I was asking.
well, New Mexico kind of really lives up to its name of the land of enchantment.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a lot of experiences there that were not necessarily paranormal, but they definitely weren't of what we would consider normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Marla,
So
was that the area where you used to live, where you had your neighbors having cattle mutilations? Remember you told me about?
yeah, same area,
You want to talk
about 20 miles away. Yeah, we had a neighbor who ran cattle in the forest. We had a Forest Service in-holding, so we lived in a log cabin in the forest. He ran his cows about 5 miles from us, but he also ran them out on the mesa, and he went to pick them up to bring them home for winter, and he had about 9 dead cows, all with their udders and ears missing, and he said their tails were burnt.
That's a lot. Yeah, usually I've only ever heard the one cow mutilation, but not. You said 9 in one night.
9. I think he said. I see that was in the 80s, so I seem to remember it was way more than 1. I think it was 9.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody really talked about it, and he didn't really want to talk about it. He was an old rancher. He'd been ranching there his whole life. He was in his 80s then. And he just said, yeah, I went to pick up my cows and they were dead and disfigured.
Yeah, I talked to Debbie Zilgemeyer a while back, and she's kind of, she's a MUFON investigator that's, her and her brother Chuck Zukowski, I believe is his name. I think they even had a show on History Channel regarding, doing these kind of investigations. And so there's always, when it comes to that, there's always these two camps. One is aliens did it. The other one is secret government groups did it, And so it's like, who do you believe, right?
Right. In that case, I didn't believe secret government groups because it's really hard. It's really hard to not be obviously an intruder in that neighborhood. It's
right.
Just there. It's too wide open. You can see for 50 or 60 miles, and everybody knows everybody. So I had to believe it was something that wasn't of this realm. We also had the way our cabin was built, the guy who built it, he had a shooting lane that went from the bedroom of the cabin a mile out to the road, and then you could see up the hill onto the next hill. One night we were standing there talking. It was fall. It wasn't winter. There was no snow on the ground. And we looked up, and there were red, white, and blue lights, and it seemed like it was too high for them to be on the road. We talked about it, and we decided it was probably a cop car or two that were waiting for some bikers to come across the pass. But we never heard anything. We heard the bikers go by an hour later, and the next day I saddled up my horse and went up onto that ridge, and then had to go get my ex and tell him to come up and take a look at this, because there were 3 burn marks about they weren't 3 feet wide. They were maybe 2.5 feet wide in the grass. And it was real obvious that something big and hot had sat on the grass.
Mhm.
It
Wow.
was just that kind of place. It still is that kind of place.
Right.
If you want to go see things you can't explain, go to New Mexico.
Well, you know, it's very, very cool and interesting too that you've been around those experiences. I'm wondering if you would be interested to find a very dependable regressionist and see if there's anything else more that you remember than what your memory gives you now.
Yeah, I'd be open to that.
You know, it's
How do I look up a reliable regressionist?
right. Yeah, no, that's I wouldn't know myself. I would basically have to contact all my other friends that, you know, that have when they came out publicly, like Sherry Wild, they know of some regressionist, certain other people they know of some of those, that then it would be something to look into that way.
I
It's-
did one of those
Yeah.
once. And
A regression?
I did one. Yeah, but I don't think it worked for me. I saw myself as an octopus in a past life, but I don't know. But what was interesting? Yeah.
Well, just the way you
about-
say it, you said something funny yesterday, or not yesterday, the last show too, something about like shadow people cracked me up. What'd you say? Like, what do? They
Oh,
just
but-
stand around waiting for people?
They got nothing better to do. Oh, I have another friend. I'll have her call in one time, tell her about the shadow stories. But well, what I didn't know much about some of the spiritual stuff, and this is before but I happened to do a group one. So it was like in a room with like 20, 30 people, and several people in the same section were saying when we came out of it. So there was a hypnotist, and he did it as a group, and everybody had different experiences. Some people shared, like, you know, and they had interesting stories about past lives. But there was a corner of the room where several people said, I don't know why, but my eyes were fluttering. My eyes were fluttering uncontrollably. And I didn't think much of it until later in life. I started having these kind of experiences and my eyes started fluttering. So I think that's the sign of an energy being in the room. Maybe you can't see it, but the energy has an effect on your body. And that's why they experienced that. So I don't know, maybe that meditation group attracted certain things. And but yeah, that was what my takeaway from that experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again for, well, I was going to say for calling in. I realized I not called you.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, thanks. I appreciate, you know, you sharing the story and not minding, you know, because for me, it's hard to imagine, you know, but there's still people that are so anxious and very reserved to be open about sharing these stories. To me, it's just second nature, but, you know, I can't expect everyone else to be the same way. So I do appreciate you doing this today.
No problem. Thank you for calling me. I just figure it's just part of an experience. I think a lot of people deny their experiences because it makes them uncomfortable, but to me, it's just a thrill.
Right. Well, you know, it's like one person sharing their story, next person feels more open to it, the next one, the next thing you know, it becomes normal. And then, you know, you'll be another just boring old person because everyone else had this experience, and that's become the, as they like to call, the new normal.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay,
All
bye.
right, bye-bye. Okay. So I'm glad we were able to do that. Yeah, and for some of those, I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. For those that you know, Telegram really makes it super easy and simple for me, especially if you already have a phone number. And so for one, Telegram I use to post other things that I wouldn't say I posted anything too crazy out there that I wouldn't be able to post, let's say like on YouTube or anywhere else. But as I mentioned quite some time ago, I'm trying to build different platforms up, And Telegram is definitely one of those, because for one, it keeps me connected to all of you watching, and people that I can actually have a conversation with a lot easier. That way, instead of having to officially set up an interview to be interviewed and doing all this other stuff, it just acts like a call-in. And so basically two purposes: one, build up an alternate platform, and two, immediate access for you guys to me, and from me to you guys. So that way we don't have to go in these long roundabout channels to get to talk to each other. Just like today, I would have never thought to call someone else because they really want to share their story, and then sharing their story, that's what it's about. So I was thinking about to get to Yo-Yo to see what he has to say, and then sorry to say it's not as long as last time, but I have to go. So let me get to Yo-Yo and see what he has to say, and then I'll finish up here, and hopefully I'll have more tomorrow on a new guest, and I'll create a stream for Friday. But I'll keep you posted. I'm not quite sure yet which one of these people that I put an invitation out to will get back to me in time. So let me see here. Yo-Yo, you are unmuted on my end. Unmute yourself on yours, and should be able to talk to me.
Yeah, actually, I had a question for the lady, but I can just ask it. But not that it's significant, but I was just wondering, like how was she feeling during the experience, and like right before it, like what was like her frame of mind, or was there something significant she was thinking about? Was just a question, But I mean, if we can't get her back,
yeah. Well, that's a good question that maybe Paulie, if he's in contact with her still right now, he could ask, and then he'll convey it if that would be the quickest that I can think of right now while he's already online. Sure. But yeah, Yo-Yo, you've been doing good. Otherwise, it's been a while since I talked to you.
Yeah, it's been smoky, and my solar power can't work because all the smoke is blocking me. But we're healthy, right. And that's what counts.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All my friends are in riots in South Africa and stuff, but we got it pretty easy. But
right,
compared to that, no.
They can hear you now. You're on speakerphone.
I wasn't thinking about anything in particular except where I was going to get more crystals to hang in the window to make more rainbows and refracted light. But the actual experience of being around those orbs made me very peaceful and happy. That's not always my demeanor, but it is when they're around.
You think
put it that way, or they were the effect, perhaps?
No, I think they were the effect.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting.
Would you consider it a healing experience? Like, would you use that as
definitely. I slept the best sleep of my life the next night.
Right. So I think being like, how do you say that? Not like mind busy, probably let you open to have the experience. That's just my opinion, just what pops to mind. But that's what it sounds like to me.
I think people are so busy, especially in the city, that it's almost impossible to notice anything like that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Yo-Yo, yeah, I hope you got your answer. And Paulie, thanks again for, I guess, playing phone. Oh, okay. I guess he's offline now too. All right. Well, let me see here. Just gotta do this part here real quick. So yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in today. Every Wednesday at 7, we usually do this. It always goes in different directions. The way you've seen it today might not be next Wednesday at all. It might be going in different direction, different topics, maybe something more interesting to you. I don't know how how it's always perceived by people watching any of these, because some love it, some are not that much into it. So either way, it's never the same. So I hope you give it next week a chance as well. And yeah, I want to thank everyone else that had logged in to chat. I apologize that I haven't gotten to too many chat questions. I got to talk about and get to some of them, but usually, as you've noticed, on Wednesdays, if you manage to download Telegram, log in, join it, and share your story that way, or maybe interact that way, like you've just seen it, you get maybe more from it as well. But yeah, definitely not discouraging people that want to make a comment in the comment sections. It's more than welcome, but it's more interactive that way for those just sitting watching on YouTube, or just watching the video version of this. So at least having a conversation by voice, even if it's with someone on Telegram, is a lot more entertaining to watch. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you logging in very much. Again, we'll let everyone know as soon as I can who I'm going to have on Friday. It's not determined yet, but it should be 7 p.m. on Fridays for an actual interview with a guest over Skype, and then of course next Wednesday, as always, 7 p.m. Open lines. So have a good day, good night, wherever you are. Thank you all again for tuning in, and until next time, bye.